from Dolby. Okay. Oh, thank you, Fred. So Beth, come on up there and say a few words to our group that is just joining like mad fire right now.
Well, I think everybody heard me speak enough last month, so I don't really have anything new to say, except just again, I want to reiterate Dolby's appreciation for being a part of We. I want to reiterate my personal appreciation for being a part of We. We as a collective group are, I'm always amazed at where We pops up and where people from We pop up, and I appreciate it. And it's nice to be somewhere. I was supposed to be at the North Central NATO trade show this week, but unfortunately I was not able to attend. But in events like that, I love seeing somebody pop up with the We badge or whatever. And it just almost feels like an automatic friendship, if you will, especially if it's somebody I don't know. So I really do appreciate that. I am also very much enjoying the mentor program that has been very beneficial for me so far. And we're only, 3 weeks or so into it. So, or 3 months or so into it. It hasn't been long, but I love it. I really, really do. As far as Dolby goes, we're just trudging away. The summer looks to be great. We have a record number Atmos titles coming out. So that's great. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And I think it's going to be a really, really great summer for the industry. I'm very, very excited about it. So with that, I will stop yammering and pass the baton back to you, Heather. Thank you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. And we are thrilled. You've been a great sponsor. And I was happy when, I think it was about a year ago, when I talked to you and Mike and you said, we want to support We. Means a lot to us, and then especially on the speaker series, because it's this cool little thing, and we love the fact that you're part of our mentorship program. So y'all keep that in mind as we grow, that we're going to keep adding mentors and mentees to our program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without further ado, you guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am for everybody to get to know Jackie. She is a phenomenal human being, and she holds a pretty high important role in our industry. So as I get to talk to her, I'm letting you guys get to know her personally. So I do a little personal stuff, then I get to her business, and then I go some rapid fire questions for personal, and then I'm going to open it up to the room. So if you guys want to say hi to Jackie, raise your hand. I'm going to try to call on people who want, and I move around the room as quickly as I can because we have an hour. So without further ado, please everybody meet Jackie Brenneman.
Hello.
And just so you know, Jackie just got in this morning, so she is exhausted, but she's here looking beautiful for us and ready to give us a little insight. So, Jackie, tell us about where you grew up.
Where I grew up. Well, I grew up in Napa Valley in Northern California, the wine country, which was very exciting and fun as a kid, being dragged around to wineries where you could drink nothing and thought everything was boring. And my mom was in healthcare. We didn't run a winery or any of that. And we weren't fancy eaters. So I didn't even discover really all the fun food in Napa until I was in high school. But yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a small town, really kind of a country town. And I was just fortunate enough to find theater when we moved there. And that became kind of the center of my childhood, was driving all around the Bay Area doing children's theater.
Okay, so that explains it. And when did you realize, like, what time in your life did you go, God, I grew up in wine country and I didn't even understand how cool that was?
When I turned 24, I was back at home. I've been going back home every year, Christmas, things like that. And Napa was still a really small town. There was kind of one bar in actual Napa, and you would see everyone you knew from high school, and it got kind of exhausting. But I found out at 24 that there was a program called Napa Neighbors. And if you had a Napa driver's license, which I still had, then you could drink wine for free at all the fancy wineries. So then I got a real appreciation for Napa.
Or Stan in the chat says, if you were in France, you could have been drinking wine. Thanks. Thanks, Stan. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about college, and how was college for you? Where'd you go? And what was that life like for you?
So I went to college first for musical theater at University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I had a 17-year-old wisdom that I was very academic and very theatrical. And I thought I have to focus on one or the other. So I'm gonna, I was gonna be on Broadway. So I just figured I'd, just do a conservatory and not be distracted by anything academic. And then of course I found myself begging other classmates to do their homework. I was writing everyone's monologues and essays for them. I was bored out of my mind. It was just not a good fit for me. And so I took a couple years off, actually worked in fine dining in New York. And
Ooh.
then decided I had to go back to school, and I was going to go to NYU. It's the only school I wanted to go to. I lived down in the Village at the time. And so I applied to NYU. I was a transfer as a dramatic literature, theater, history, and the cinema major, because some of my credits would transfer. But I really found my love and passion in studying cultural anthropology. So I was technically a double major there, but I put a lot of time, energy, and heart into cultural anthropology. But while I was at NYU, I took the exact opposite approach that I had taken at University of the Arts, and I did all kinds of theater, and I did everything academic I could get my hands on. Did the honors thesis and took extra courses every semester, and I interned, and I was on the crew team, and I did so many things, and found myself so happy being busy and feeling like I was being challenged in different ways. I probably have ADD. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I know myself, and I know that I like to be very busy and have a lot of different kind of stimulation at all times. So I found that to be really satisfying, and I started learning who I was by doing that. So yeah.
It's funny because this cultural anthropology, I'm like, okay, so
I just loved it.
I think that's awesome. So are you doing now what you thought you'd be doing as a kid?
Well, as a kid, I was going to be on Broadway, so definitely not. As a kid, I would never. I mean, the kid Jackie inside of me still is so embarrassed that she's a lawyer. I would never have done something like that. And I think my natural resentment of even being a lawyer, because that's a different story, but just the brief of it is NYU cost a lot. I had to pay it off, and I went to law school to do that. But it was always in my mind something temporary. That was the again, like a switch, just all academic. I know I was good at it. I was just going to fixate on it, but it made me empty inside because I needed more. And at NATO, I certainly didn't apply as a lawyer. So it's, that the lawyer background ended up just kind of seeping into my job. And then of course it became, well, I just feel like all of my background led me to this place, and I can talk more about that, but the things that you visualize as a child, a lot of those have come true, right? In just very different ways. And I hesitate to say things like this because I don't know how to say things that I'm grateful for without it also sounding kind of like I'm bragging, but there's like some meaningful things that have happened to me that felt like, oh wow, this is what I envisioned, but just so much more meaningful. And like I visited a couple of members over the past, NATO members, exhibitors over the past year or two. And two different times when I visited a member and they took me to their theater, they had up on their marquee my name and thank you, Jackie, like welcome, Jackie.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. Yeah.
And as a kid who thought about having her name in lights one day, and I'd let that go. I didn't care about being an actor at all anymore. Like that's just not even something I would imagine wanting to be it for a living. But then seeing my name on a marquee and having it be not because I'm singing on stage there, but because what I did in my job and what I've cared about actually helped someone, made it so much more meaningful. And being able to stand on the stage at CinemaCon this year, on the same stage where Celine Dion sang, is so much, it's so much better to stand there, not to perform, but to be able to talk about John Fithian, who I just truly love and admire, and being able to be on that stage in front of that audience, being able to talk about something meaningful was all of my dreams, it coming true in a way I never could have imagined. Sorry, that was long, but
no, it's awesome.
all of the things that I am, I think I get to be in my job.
Well, like I said, when I first asked you to be one of our speakers, as you know, those little speaker series has taken a life of its own. And I was so happy to hear like people texting me saying, I cannot wait to get to know Jackie. And this is the pearl of wisdom. I think you're going to get a lot of smiles when they do the response, to get to know a little bit about that. Because when we're kids, we think we want something and we get excited about maybe some sort of popularity. But then as we get older, we realize it's what you do that gives you the popularity, and you're earning it so that it gives you that pride inside that nobody can take away from you. So
But never call me popular like that. Like I will not, I cannot.
okay, well, I'll just do it for you, and you can say that's not
Well,
true. So what are some of your hobbies and pastimes?
So certainly, I mean, I still do theater, right? Theater is my outlet. I run a theater company on the side here in Burbank. The whole mission, because if you start something, you can build it around yourself, was people that have work day jobs. So it's a theater company for people that are working professionals. And that has also taken on a complete life of its own. I'm barely even involved now because I'm so busy in my day job, but people 10 years younger that also care about their careers, but have time to be more active are finding their own love and passion there. Our current president is a, double doctorate who's a rocket scientist by day. And she's running this theater company. So being able to have that community of people that care so much about their jobs, but also want to give their talent and time is really exciting. I feel so lucky when I get to be in a rehearsal and I'm in a room of people singing and dancing and working so hard, and none of us is getting paid. But we're all taking it as seriously as we take the things that we get paid to do. So I love that. I've also, I love travel and food and wine, of course. It's in my blood. And I spend a lot of time I've got 2 young kids, so being able to try to see the world through their eyes and take them on adventures that I would have loved to go on, and just raise them. It's such a joy to be able to have an impact on these little people and watch their own personalities form.
It's really cute. Well, so are you a book reader?
I am. I go through phases. I read really fast, so if I need to have like a backup of books, and then I'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'll go in a phase where I don't read for like 3 months.
Anything recently that is impactful?
Impactful. Well, I've started doing audiobooks a little bit here and there. That's a new fun thing. And I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I really connected with that book. It was incredible. And then a friend recommended a book which was a little trashy, but I'm very snobby with books. I love trashy TV and movies, but I'm very snobby with books.
Oh.
But because it was an audiobook, I loved it. And it's like it's Colleen Hoover. It starts with us, it ends with us. Those 2 books. Listen to those back to back while traveling, and I could not. I don't know what the audiobook version of Q can't put it down. I couldn't turn it off.
Oh, okay.
It was just it felt like I was like listening to someone, like I was in their head and hearing them gossip, and it was a very different way to experience that. But then
Hendricks on audio, and I made me laugh and like her as an actress because she was so funny, and hearing her voice, I mean, she's hilarious. So normally I like to read, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm listening now to also to balance it out so I can have some academic street cred. I'm listening to the biography of President Grant.
Oh,
So
good for you. Okay.
that's 48 hours long. So that'll, it'll come back to me in a couple months, and I'll
Have
tell
a
you.
few wrinkles. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anybody out there that you would put on your high admiration list, or at this question, would you prefer to say the type of traits within an individual? Because sometimes people want to answer that a different way.
Oh man, there's so okay. So I'm driven by jealousy. And I say that like when I feel a sense of jealousy of someone, I use that as a metric to say, oh, whatever that person is achieving something or behaving in a way that I find admirable. Right. So I always listen to that feeling of jealousy is like that person has a trait that I really admire. So I like to surround myself with people I'm jealous of in different ways.
Okay.
People that have superpowers I don't have.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, it would be very hard. I would leave off too many people.
I gotcha. That's
but
why I have to ask the traits too, because if there's,
it's-
somebody might say my dad or my mom, but I've had different people answer
there
that.
are these, there are, especially, this is women in exhibition. I'd like to talk, the women that I get to interact with, on a frequent basis, all have like very different strong traits, right? Like, there are 4 women on NATO's board of directors, and like Elizabeth Frank is brilliant, right? I mean, she's so smart, she's so strategic and mysterious. I have no mystery about me. I wish that I could have any of that, but exactly what you're getting from me at all times. And Wanda from Cinemark, I mean, she's newer to the industry, but she's dug herself right in. Like, everyone knows her and respects her really quickly. She gained trust really, really quickly. And obviously she also has impeccable style, which is, I think, hard to nail in this business. And I'm sure her style has changed as she went from being in a high fashion place to being in the cinema industry. I'd love to hear her thoughts on that. Because I've certainly felt like what I wear matters, and I haven't figured out the balance, and everyone knows I rent my clothes, so this is a whole other thing. And Renana is just like flying all over the world and is so tough, but like always has a warmth about her. And then there's Colleen also on our board, who is newer to the board, but she's been in the business for a long time, and she's an indie, and she works so hard, and she's so tough too, and she will fight and be passionate. And I feel like I can really trust her. And anyway, that's just the NATO board. I've got these amazing women on the foundation board too. I've got Tori Baker, who is always full of ideas. That woman, her brain is a mile a minute. It's incredible. And then we've got Michelle Madalena from Dolby, who everyone knows and loves and respects. And she's so incredibly humble and quiet. And but like, Michelle knows everyone trusts her. So being able to bring that with her everywhere. I mean, these are people that are so inspirational. And then of course my team, you mentioned Erin earlier. Erin is my everything. So
yeah, she's a cutie. So I think that one word you've said a couple times is trust. So if there were a trait, you'd say people that you can trust and that others trust sounds a trait that you must admire.
That's you're very right. That's absolutely correct.
Picking up. Okay, so let's figure out, what is your proudest accomplishment, Jackie?
Oh. My proudest accomplishment is, I feel like I can look back on some of the hardest moments in my life, and and we can use the pandemic as just one of those, but I can look back on those hard moments and know that I went through something really, really difficult, and I certainly let it get me down. And I would certainly allow myself to feel sorry for myself or cry or whatever, but I never allowed myself to give up. And knowing that I have that in me, knowing that I've gone through those moments, and that I've kept optimism, and I've kept myself surrounded with people that had that optimism, because I certainly couldn't have done it alone. I had people in my corner who also fought hard. So knowing that I could pick those people, and that I could pick myself up, those things make me really proud.
Oh, I love that. Okay, is there anything you wish you could do over? Mulligan.
I mean, 2016. I didn't have a great 2016.
Thanks a year. All right. What are 3 words that describe you?
Oh, curious.
Good one.
Passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And hilarious. I'm very funny.
I love that. And you are hilarious. Good. Okay. Yeah. This is a hard one. What's the worst thing anyone has ever said to you?
Oh, I mean, I have a catalog of those. Unfortunately, this is the thing about myself, where I'm still not as tough as I would like to be. I received like, especially in formative years, I was that person that people felt like they had to say all of the very meanest things to. So, I was bullied by grownups who thought that I was going to take parts away from their kids. I had a woman tell me when I was 16 that I was too fat to ever make it as an actress, and that I should give up my dream that I'd had. And I really kind of did for a long time. I let this like woman totally get to me. And I hate that happened. But I mean, I had a girl with a whole 1997 blog calling me Thunder, and all the adventures of what Thunder was going to wear that day. And did she dare to bare her thighs to the world? Ha 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 ha. So I can still be really sensitive. And I think that's also maybe where the trust comes from too, is I need to know who you are. And I can work with people I don't trust, but I'm going to work with you very differently.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect feed to the next question. What would you say to 16-year-old Jackie?
I would tell 16-year-old Jackie exactly what the people that I listened to told 16-year-old Jackie, which was like, it's going to get better. You're going to find your people. Trust me, when you get to college, things will be better. It's not always going to be like this. And I listened to them, and that's kind of those hard times, right? It didn't help me when I was 16. It didn't help me when I was 17, but it helped me think through 16 and 17 to 18. It helped me make sure I went to college, and I went to college far away. And those words mattered. And even when I go through dark things now, I always listen. I always ask for advice and perspective. And even if it's not going to help me in the moment, I know it's guiding me towards the next thing.
So do you think that you have changed from last year to this year?
Yes, 100%.
How have you changed?
So at CinemaCon this year, I very last minute found out that I had to be in a room full of everyone in the industry, basically, introducing and presenting an award to Martin Scorsese and introducing Leonardo DiCaprio, who I had been in love with at 14. And
I a chance.
I find out I have this big giant speech. I've never used a teleprompter before. It's really high pressure.
Yeah. And
a year ago, I would have been a wreck. But in the past year, it's not a secret that I was in the running to take over for John Fithian. And so as part of that, John threw a lot of things at me, right? He made me kind of take over the National Cinema Day thing with no time, money, or preparation or history of doing anything like that. At the same time, I was trying to do the first ever Cinema Foundation Fall Summit. And none of these things I did alone, but all of these things were kind of, if it failed, it's on me, right? And so I had to do that. I find out I have to do a speech. I find out I have to interview Damien Chazelle. I've never even it was all crazy. I had to do a panel at the CinemaCon last year. That was the first time I'd ever moderated a panel. And Aaron will tell you, Aaron has seen me through all of this, but I was a wreck. I was so worried I was just going to fail at moderating a panel because I didn't know what it looked like or felt like. Yeah. And I would be on television and talk to press for National Cinema Day. I mean, it was just all of these different things. And at one point I had told my management team, I think you guys are throwing too many things at me. I think I'm going to crack under the pressure. It's too much. And everyone's looking at me to see if I'm going to fail because they know I'm going for this job. And John said to me, nope, I believe in you. You can do this. I'm not going to take anything off your plate. Deal with it. And so that was really, really hard. But then when I had to present an award to Martin Scorsese, I was ready because I had done all of those things and I could stand there, breathe, and just be okay with it. And that as that happened, I was so surprised I wasn't nervous. I could not believe it. And afterwards I was like, oh, this is because John prepared me for things like this. Anything that comes like this.
You welcome the preparation. I love that, Jackie.
Did it.
Well, it just leads up to the perfect, right into the next question. Tell us a little bit about your roles with NATO currently, and then we'll go into the foundation. So give us back to back.
I mean, my roles within NATO haven't changed. I mean, I guess it's everything is where we're under a leadership transition. So who knows? Certainly I look to, whatever it is that Michael needs from me. Technically, as the EVP, I'm the number 2, right? So that means I'm here to support him as he needs to be supported. So I've told him, and certainly it makes sense that what he's going to need from me and how he's going to work with me is going to be different than how John worked with me. And that's great, right? I work with lots of different people in lots of different capacities. So I think he's still trying to figure me out and figure out all of the different hats that I wear, and how to best to use them. So my job is to support the president and CEO of NATO, however he needs me to support him, and however he needs me to support the industry. So I'm our general counsel still, and I support on, like kind of anything, right? I work with the GR team on lobbying issues. I love going to the Hill and telling lawmakers about our stories. It's really, really easy for me to be a lobbyist in this industry. Another thing I would have never thought I would be. And I, grew up in a very, very aggressively liberal household. And my dad is like just so far to the left. Like he thinks that like Obama is a conservative, like monster, right? Like that's how left he is. And so for me to be a lobbyist, just being able to say that out loud sounds like I'm a bad guy in my mind, but it's not. I feel it's so easy to do, and I love it. And then of course I started NATO as industry relations, so that's a key component of my job to this day. I love working with the technology side of the business. Jerry Pierce was one of my first mentors, and so he really took me under his wing early on. So I learned to speak cinema technology, and it's great fun for me. So yeah, I kind of touch everything.
And now let's talk about the foundation a little bit.
Yeah, well, the foundation is just about a year old, right? We had our coming out party at CinemaCon last year, so we're 1 year old, and certainly the foundation has changed a lot from what it was when it was an idea to what it is now. And I think one of the greatest things about that too is just being able to be flexible enough to adapt to what it is that people need, right? The point of the foundation is to serve the industry. And if we kept the foundation rigid and fixed to its original business plan, we would not be serving the industry. So it's been really fun to, to hear the frustration and stress and suspicion of the foundation when we first started. What is this? What is it trying to do? Who's it trying to take out? There was a lot of fear that what we were doing was covertly malignant, if you will. And trust takes time to build. And I've been really candid with people about that. Like, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, and then I have to do it. And that's when you're going to start to trust me. And here's what I'm going to do. Right. And I've been spending a year building the team, building volunteers, working with the board, working with the industry at large to do that. And then, of course, we were thrown National Cinema Day about like 4 weeks into our existence, practically, a couple months in. Brian had just come on as our executive director. This was nowhere part of our plan. And we had some budget and we just decided to make it happen. And I think, Cinema Day, the first one, had a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of things I wouldn't do differently because we couldn't have. And that was kind of the promise, was this is going to be rough because there's no time or money, and we've never done anything like this. But what my promise was we're going to learn from this and do it better next year. And I'm going to include you more and all of that. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now, that we're working really hard to be as inclusive as we can, to hear as many perspectives as we can, to make this one and every other one after it even better. Not everyone's going to get what they want, and that's also okay. I try to be really honest when I say no to someone. Why? I'm not just saying no. I'm saying no because, or no, but. So, we do that where industry promotion and creative community outreach is really important to what the foundation is going to be doing forever. The other, careers, education, and diversity, is really important. That's about putting out programs to promote this industry as a great place to start and grow a career. We're going to work on something on a program about that with the Film Frog team. They're on. Hey, shout out. And also all of the programming we do at CinemaCon, at the Foundation Summit, and we also work with the ICTA, their January seminar series. So trying to do a lot more education there. And then data and research is all, in my mind, everything the foundation does is about data and about industry promotion. We promote the industry via good data. We make good decisions via good data. We change the narrative via good data. My internal slogan is that the goal of the foundation is to make the industry obvious and sexy. And so the obvious part is it's obviously the best place to start your career. It's obviously the best place for a movie to debut. Putting a movie in a theater first exclusively and marketing it that way is the best path for that movie and for everyone involved in that movie.
You know what I love about that, Jackie? So when I first met you, you didn't have the strength that you have now. You had the same goal and this data. You did the data because you shared it with me. It was what, 3-4 years ago. And I remember you were shouting at the rooftops, but because you were new, no one was listening. They're listening now. They're listening now. So you've done, just like you said, you set out to do something, you collected the data, you were like shouting about it. You're like, why isn't anybody listening to me? It burns in my ears all the time. Because I mean, this was like coffee at Marie at Sea. So seeing that all of that data you collected was truth. It's still the same truth. Even after the pandemic. So you're going to make a difference with collecting that data and sharing it, and making it sexy. So what's your favorite part of this job that you have?
I feel like I found my home. I love this industry. I really do. I'm going to get very emotional. I'm going to try and, you were joking, but being serious about me being very passionate about the data. It's true. I mean, from the second, I've always been a frequent moviegoer, but I never knew about the business. And like I said earlier, I'm not even like a film snob. I like terrible movies. I just love going to the movies. I always have, always will. And for me to hear the kind of cynicism from within our industry and from our partners that I started hearing when I became an insider was really hard. And to hear that just the way that business decisions were being made because of some of these studies that were poorly done or because of some anecdotes or whatever, it was like you're creating a vicious cycle that's not going to help any of us. So I feel like I've wanted to inject optimism and enthusiasm and innovation into this business and just share how much I love it. I'm a demographic they say doesn't go to the movies, and I can tell you why, but it's not because I don't want to go is the short of it, right? And I think we can do so much if we think optimistically, and I just felt really embraced by even the people in this industry who probably don't like me have made a big impact on me. And people have felt very comfortable sharing their candid thoughts and their feedback on things they like and don't like. And I love that. I love that. Like I'm so down to hear feedback and to grow and to change. I'm not going to change who I am as a person. It's impossible. Like I mentioned earlier, I was very bullied growing up. I spent a lot of years wishing I could be a different person. If I could have changed myself, I would have. So this is what you get. But it's a person who actually cares and is going to work really hard. And I just love everyone in this.
That's why everybody loves you. What's one thing that people say out there that you disagree with?
God.
Put you on the spot.
I mean, look, it's the constant drumbeat of, well, movie theaters are dirty. Like, people don't go to the movies because they're dirty. It's like, where are you going to the movies? You mean New York and Los Angeles, where the most moviegoers are going to the movies? They're not going to the movies there. I just think they think that it's cool to be cynical and it's cool to say movie theaters are dead. That whole thing is annoying. People, I joke with my mom that my mom sometimes just sounds like MSNBC. She says things and she acts like they're her own brand new thoughts, but she's just like Rachel Maddow is coming out of her mouth. And And there's a lot of that, right? People say things. I remember when I was a kid, I would say like, I like all music except for country and opera. Had I even like listened to country? No. And did I not like opera? I was an opera singer. What was I saying? I just said it because it's what people said. And you know, again, I studied anthropology. I'm very aware all the time of the things that we say versus the ways we behave, and then how sometimes those things start to seep in. I think we have a real opportunity to get past the negative narratives and to change them and turn them on their heads and take the points of friction and actually turn them into points of opportunity. And so I'm kind of over the negativity. If you don't like this business, then get out. If you don't believe in this business, don't work for it. Change industries. But if you're here, let's believe in it together. Let's innovate. Let's change. Absolutely. Let's change and grow. I don't want us to be thought of as an old-timey brick and mortar legacy business. I want us to be the only place that you can have this shared communal experience. We are innovative cultural community centers. Like there's nothing like a movie theater. Let's work on that together.
So what do you think, what out there is going to increase attendance at the cinema from your perspective?
Well, first, again, I think we need to have I think we have a choice matrix problem. And by that, I mean, when people start to think like, oh, I want to leave my house tonight. I want to get out. I don't want to be home. They don't necessarily put going to the movies as the thing in their head, right? Going to the movies was always a thing. It was not, I'm going to see this movie, I'm going to see that movie. It was, I'm going to the movies. And that has changed. So now it's, oh, I want to see X movie or Y movie. And only if that's being marketed to me, which marketing is much more difficult now, as we know. I personally almost never see movie ads. It doesn't, somehow I'm not a target audience. I guess it's because I'm a woman over 35. They don't think I want to go. So they're not marketing to me. I don't know. I know how it's crazy how that happens. But what I want is for us to change that, right? Like before my time at NATO, we had tried to do a kind of a Got Milk style campaign. Now there were a lot of different limitations. It was like all billboard. It was a very different era, right? This is nothing was digital and all of that. But one of the companies that had submitted a slogan like "F it, I'm going to the movies." And we didn't pick it, or not, again, I wasn't there, but NATO at the time didn't pick it because of the sensitivities around F it, right? And I get all of that, but it is a call to action. And you can see how something like that could start when you're like, oh, I'm so tired. F it, I'm going to the movies. Or
I love that, Jackie.
F it, I'm going to the movies, right?
Yeah,
or I had a great day. F it, let's go to the movies.
Yeah.
And so we have all these different things we can pick up on and turn into something really fun. And so things like that, I'm really excited about. I joke to my team, and probably to half the people that are on this call have heard me say, like, I want to do to movie going what somehow the rosé industry did, right? Rosé all day, yes way rosé. Like it's summertime, I'm at the pool, I know what I'm doing. I want that to be, it's Friday night, I had a hard day, I know what I'm doing. That's going to be.
Well, I'll just know that I'm on your court, that I believe that 1000%. Okay, we're going to ask two more business questions, and we're going to go back to personal before we open up the audience. So what's your position on theatrical windows? And then I'm going to ask you one more question. So go ahead and answer that.
Theatrical windows make perfect sense. There's no reason to not have them. We've seen it now. I know that there's some will say that the window debate is settled. Some will say it's not. Again, I say, show me the data. I think the data will tell us the answer. I think we should all be making smart business decisions. My personal belief is, windows help with better performance all the way down. So if there are numbers, if there are different movies with different windows, I know that these are all individual business decisions. So I wouldn't be in the position to say that there's one number that's right or wrong. And I don't think that there is. But I think we should now be making business decisions based on data, not based on gut feelings or anything else. I think we've got enough now we know windows work. So let's find out what those should be.
So to that end, what would you change between the relationship to the studio and the exhibitor? That's my last business question.
I will say, and again, I've said this before, so pardon me for those who've heard me on this soapbox. We are at an incredible moment in this industry's history. This industry is over 100 years old, and never before in the history of this entire business has it cost nothing to distribute content. The entire way our business was developed was dependent upon a huge fixed cost that is now gone. That fixed cost made it so that metrics like per screen averages, comps, all of how many screens you're releasing it on, all of those things were important because you had limited supply of films, or you had a VPF to kind of keep that limited supply of film concept going. We were promised a digital cinema revolution, and it has yet to come. And I think this is a really great opportunity right now to really explode things up from within, benefit the whole system. I think studios that have streaming platforms should be really considering how, if they've got a screen that they feel like they own that screen, well, maybe you should put one of your shows on one of the night slots. Maybe you've got a kids movie, maybe you should try something. I think this should be an era of experimentation. I think we should all be agreeing to try things together. Some things will succeed, some things will not succeed as well the first time around, but we will learn from them. Why are we not being curious together right now? I've talked to the press multiple times, and I've said, look, if you care about this industry, your job right now is to applaud any experiment that you see. If you see someone trying to innovate, do not shit on it. Do not say, oh, well, this only made X dollars. It's a first time of someone trying something brand new. How amazing is that? How awesome that someone's trying something. Maybe next time they should consider X, Y, or Z. But if you as the press are shitting on innovation, you are chilling that innovation. There is fear. And I understand why there is fear. There are lots of publicly traded companies in this industry, and they live and die on what Wall Street thinks. And if Wall Street is hearing the press from the industry saying that these are bad experiments that are going to crush the industry, well, people aren't going to try it. And people are humans. All of us have egos. We don't like to read about ourselves in the press as dum-dums. So don't say that, right? I mean, you don't have to report that way. There's a different lens, there's a different perspective, and we should all be applauding that kind of innovation.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of comments, and great. Okay, so now we're going to go through the 20 questions. They're just rapid fire, and then I'm going to open to the audience, everybody. Okay, so you ready? Favorite movie?
None, but Titanic, sure.
Oh, okay. Movie snack?
Popcorn. Popcorn.
Okay. Favorite actor or actress?
Don't have one. I've got a list. I've got a long list. All the gay icons, those are mine.
Rom-com or horror?
Rom-com.
Okay. Beer or whiskey?
Beer.
Dogs or cats?
Cat, dogs.
Morning or late night?
Late night.
Texting or talking?
Texting.
Superpower?
I can read evil.
Ooh. Favorite city?
New York or Berlin.
Oh, okay. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
All right.
Catholic Jew.
Last song you listened to?
I don't know.
Oh, Lizzo?
No, it's probably my daughter's been trying to be in Matilda the musical, so there's been a lot of Matilda in my house.
Nickname your parents called you?
Wacky or Motor Mouth.
Okay, nickname you call your kids?
I call Sadie Boppy. Well, she's got Chi Chi Bops. She's got a lot of nicknames. Max is mostly just like Buddy. I don't know. He doesn't get names. I don't know why.
How many languages do you speak?
1.3.
I speak blonde and Caucasian. Okay.
I have a minor in Spanish, but it's been a long time.
Poco solamente. Cake or pie?
You never pie. Well,
I know this answer. Do you like theater?
yes.
Do you do karaoke?
Never.
No? Wow. Do you have road rage?
Broadway karaoke.
Do you have road rage?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Okay, this is my last question. Who would play Jackie in a movie about you?
Well, I used to get a lot of Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't know what I get. I haven't gotten anything recently. So
who would you have though? Would you pick?
I'd like Amy Poehler to play me.
Oh yeah.
That'd be fun.
Okay, well, I'm going to start opening up to the audience so they can say any. Okay, so I'm just going to pick on people because because you're there. Jim Cook, start with the token gentleman. Unmute yourself, baby doll.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I've been back from vacation today, and so I'm all trying to get caught up. So I was
David.
half listening and half working away. So great to meet you, Jackie. Loved hearing bits of your stories as I was on the calls and doing stuff like that. I'm gonna come up with a question and say, who from history would you like to have lunch with?
Oh, good question.
Ooh, from history. So I had like my answer, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he's not really from history. So I have that answer, but it's only a living person, not a dead person. You know what? I'd want to have dinner with my my grandmother's grandfather who raised her. Was
Oh, wow.
Super interesting guy. He has a crazy story. So I'd love to actually. I've heard so much about him, but I don't know him. So I'd love to meet Poppy.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Mary Reinhardt, would you like to say hi to Jackie?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Jackie, how's it going? So here's my question. Obviously as your career has continued to grow and now you're obviously with the Cinema Foundation, any advice on taking on more responsibility as you grow into your career and finding balance? Or continue to grow in your career, rather?
I'm the wrong person to talk to about balance. I will say that. I think my answer to this would be to be like really selfish in some ways, right? So like I find my time to do my things, right? Like I work out at 3:00 in the afternoon because I feel like working out during the workday is like an act of rebellion, and I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. That's not right. Like I get really stubborn about it. Now, does it always work out? No, but I work 24/7. So of course I can work out at 3 in the afternoon, and giving myself a little bit of permission to find some of those moments that made me feel a little rebellious made me also feel like I could also be a workaholic. Now that's employer dependent, right? So I've worked in environments where there's just no flexibility whatsoever. When I worked at a law firm and I was doing theater on the side, the associates would tell me like, don't tell the partners you have anything else that you do. Obviously that's not an environment where I will personally thrive in. So again, be really selfish. Is this something that works for you? Like you're a person, you have a life, right? I think your career should have meaning. If it doesn't have meaning, if you're not feeling like you're being met where you deserve to be met, like yes, nothing's perfect, and we all have to kind of do jobs we don't like. But if you're not feeling it and you're not feeling like you're getting anything out of it, like be selfish. Find something better. I took a 6-figure pay cut to come work at NATO, and I don't regret it for 1 second. I wasn't happy where I was, and I knew I needed to start over. And it's the best decision I ever made. So I think finding projects that you believe in and fighting for them. I constantly was, wanting to be in rooms that I wasn't being invited to be in because I was junior, not for any sexist reason or anything else like that. I was just junior and I wanted to be there, and I would find a reason. I'd send an email and I'd say, actually, I think I should be in this room because XYZ. And when I would do that, it would, they would more often than not end up happening. So I think take some risks, find a person you trust, send a draft email to them first, have them remove all of your, I'm sorry, or all of the girl things that we do.
Yeah.
I firmly believe in that. Send the email first to someone that will remove all of your exclamation points and apologies. And then just send it, do it. Just, if you want to be in that room, if there's a project you want, just take it on and go for it. And then steal some moments for yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So much. It's so cool. And I'm going to remind everybody, if you're not a member of I want you to join. This information that we're getting from Jackie and these speaker series, y'all need to make sure you support us. So that's my little guilt trip from Heather. I would like to call in Misha.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure the way to phrase it. Being a bit of an engineering background, what with the evolution of technology in movies and the in-house in theater movie experience, what do you see as the biggest challenge with the existing facilities that are as technology progresses? Are there challenges with the technology systems in these facilities? What do you think are those greatest challenges?
I think it's less about the technology itself. I think that there are some structural issues, right? I think the way that, like I've mentioned earlier, that the way that even films are booked right now, I think that's kind of an outdated method of booking movies. I think, and I get why you wouldn't want to change it, right? You've got a movie coming out. How do you say, well, I'm willing to have 3 fewer showtimes? I totally understand why it's not happening fast. But I wonder how we can speed that up. I also think, the projectors that we have and the technology we have is designed to play one type of content, right? Studio content with the DCP. Would it be, are there projectors of the future that can do more things and are still
The LED.
still meet the safety requirements and things of the studios, because I think it's really important that we protect studio content. One of the things that we're doing with the foundation is a Center for Innovation and Technology, which really does bring together studios and technology companies and filmmakers and exhibitors to kind of talk, and other kind of the DCs and deluxes of the world, to really think through what does innovation look like, and how can we work together to do that. The specification on projectors was defined by the studios, which completely made sense because studios were paying for it, right? And the studios are the ones kind of bearing a lot of the financial burden of the first round of investment. But we're moving past that now. The VPFs are over. I have not heard any studio wanting to do a VPF 2.0. So what is the future look like? How do we work together? It shouldn't be one sector of the industry making the whole determination. I think we should be working together, and there's a broad agreement on this, right? This is not controversial at this point. So I think that what's missing from our technology right now is collaboration.
I love it. That's a great answer. Okay, I'm going to move on. Thank you. Brian, Sebastian, would you like to say hi to Jackie?
Jackie, what's your thoughts on AI, and you think enough women's stories are being told?
Well, I could not quite get that one.
What's your thoughts on AI, and do you think about women's stories are being taught, shown to them?
Okay, so I heard AI and women's stories, how women's stories are being told and taught. So AI is interesting. I don't know enough about it. I know that I should be scared. But right now I like to ask ChatGPT questions and make it like write emails for me as a joke. So for me right now, ChatGPT is just something I find kind of amusing. And that's, I know, completely ignorant stance, but that's just because I find all of that kind of thing very overwhelming. I tried to have it do a logo for the Cinema Foundation, again, just for fun. I had like an AI, and the logos that it came up with were so completely offensive and off the mark. I will tell you 2 of them, just for an example of like, this is what I see AI so far. One of them, the Cinema Foundation, I gave it keywords, and one of them was, it was like a very like characteristic, like somber, elderly Native American man with like a whole, like the headdress, but the headdress and all of it was just made out of film strips. I mean, it was completely offensive. I could not imagine what organization would use that. And then the other ones were the Cinema Foundation, and it was a tiny little TV with antenna and a play button. It's like, well, this is not the future yet. And then I know it's just being used to just like sexualize women, right? Like a lot of like AI, like sex bots, and that's the internet always just goes porn first and then like figures out where it's supposed to go after that. And then women's stories, I think about this a lot. And I think this is, when I talked about why women aren't going to the movies, I think this is a huge part of the problem, is that our stories aren't considered important enough to market in a way that is for everyone. Women's stories are marketed for women only. Men's stories are marketed for everyone. Anyone who has kids knows this. You'll buy your daughter books that feature male and female protagonists, and you don't really read your son's books with female protagonists. You have to kind of force yourself to do it. It goes against what you think you're supposed to do. And I have a son and a daughter, so I pay a lot of attention to these things, and I feel that same pull, and I have to overcome a natural, not natural, a very cultural a desire to just teach him how to be a boy and not let him read him girly things. So not everyone, is as deliberate as that. And I feel like when I was growing up and I would watch movies or TV, I thought all the time that there's something wrong with me as a woman. I just didn't match the women I saw. I didn't see myself on screen, and I thought that there was something wrong with me. And then, there came a phase in like the early 2000s to mid 2000s in particular, where female comedians were starting to actually have a screen time, mostly on television, but they were starting to actually have a presence. And I went from feeling like I was wrong to feeling like I was a cliche. And it was such a revelation to feel like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I just wasn't represented before. And so it's incredibly powerful. I think this is another reason why groups like this matter. I don't think we have enough female leadership in our entire industry that's on all sides of this industry. And so I think our perspective is still thought of as a minority perspective when we are a huge opportunity. We are like a huge part of the audience. We love culture, and we're just not being considered, or we're being considered as a way that is in reaction to the normal. And we're missing out on stories.
A work in progress. Okay, I'm going to ask a few more before we have to go. Diane, Eve, I do not know you.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
You have a question for Miss Jackie.
I do not.
You want to just say hi? Tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Diane Eve. I am the regional director for Rocky Mountain NATO.
So glad
you all today. Sorry I couldn't join earlier.
All right.
Hi, Diane. Nice to see you again.
Yes, nice to see you.
All right. Erin, would you like to say hi to Jackie?
Erin may have had to hop off because we're doing our state of the industry in like 3 minutes.
Okay, we'll kick it going.
Hi, sorry, I'm about to start a different webinar, but I heard my name, so I'm unmuting for a second.
I think you could just say hi because you love her, I know.
Oh, she's the best. She's my hero. I am so lucky to work with her. She has been the most incredible mentor, and I appreciate every moment I have with Jackie. She's awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to round this out with Stacy Babel and then Maureen Suttle, and then that'll be it. So Stacy and then Maureen, and then we'll say goodbye.
Sure. I'm Stacy with Marcus Theaters. Jackie, one of the best conversations I've ever had with anyone was very validating was with you. And I can't remember where we were. We were eating dinner, but we were talking about feeling like we were terrible moms because we were traveling so much and never at home. So that resonated, just so you know. No, but my question is more, you had presented some numbers on people who look at theaters as not a career, and was wondering what, if any, work you've been planning to help change that.
Absolutely. So yeah, we did do a study early in the foundation, just asking people who had either worked in a movie theater or had thought about working in a movie theater, kind of what were their reasons that they wanted to. And it was like over 90% of people was because they love the movies, right? And to me, that's such a blessing, because that's not what you get when you run Lowe's, right? Or like Target. I mean, people like to get the Target discount, but it's different than like they love, big box retail. It's not a passion like it is in our industry. And so we do really have a way to grow this business. One of the things that study also reflected, people just thought that there wasn't growth. They think of our industry as just the part-time or entry-level jobs. And that's a lot of the lobbying we did, right? We were fighting minimum wage for a lot of years. We don't do that anymore. But we were, right? We were lobbying aggressively on things like that before my time. And it was like, well, these are just entry-level jobs. We were very public about that. And that is a huge percentage of our workforce. But so many of the people in our industry that are higher up started off entry level. So many people work at the studio started off popping popcorn. I was at the DGA. So many of the famous directors worked in movie theaters as their first job. So we're working on a piece. It's going to be 3 parts with the Film Frog team on this industry as a great place to start and grow a career. And one of the things we're going to do is focus on the different career paths. So you can be, if you're an accountant, there's an accounting job for you. Whatever it is, if you want to work for the movie business and you live anywhere in the world, there's a movie business job for you because there's the movie theater industry. And then we'll also talk about all of the like big, sexy kind of growth opportunities you can have. It's kind of your door to wherever else you want to go also.
I love it. God, Jack, you're so awesome. We've got one last Maureen. We're gonna let you say hi and goodbye, and then we'll sign off to everyone. So what would you like to say to Jackie, Maureen?
Hi, Jackie. I'm with Box Office. I had a quick question on being on stage. Like I've been fortunate to be on a couple panels and give mini speeches and whatever. And you know that feeling when your throat dries up and your mouth feels like you have goop in it. And you said how, you know, you started doing that not so long ago and you ended up on stage at CinemaCon and you were amazing, and how you felt ready. What'd you do to feel ready to not have goop in your mouth?
So, and there's a two-part answer to that. So first is I did grow up doing theater, right? So I've been on a stage a lot of times, but when I'm on the stage doing theater, I've got other people's lines and I have a character, and it's very, very different. When I first started auditioning, I was completely terrified. My lip would quiver. It would be like uncontrollable. So I couldn't sing. I had no control over it. And what I realized over time, and this applies completely to the NATO piece of it and the public speaking piece, I was nervous because I wasn't fully prepared and because I was looking at the event the wrong way. I just wasn't looking at it as an opportunity to perform. I was thinking about being judged, and I was thinking about rejection, and I was thinking about how bad I was and what they were all the mean things that they were thinking about me in their heads. Instead of, I love singing. I get to sing on this stage in this little room in New York City. And even if there's only an audience of 3, what a cool, I never like fully got to that place. And so I think it's being able to have the preparation and having gone through it. And then look at how lucky I am to be on this stage and to be able to make an impact. And they had me up here because they care about my perspective. And so if you just can bring yourself to it, don't worry about sounding perfect. Don't worry about what anyone else would say. They picked you for your own ideas, your own voice. And so that's what you're there to do, is to share your ideas, share your voice. And once you realize that you've got this power and this perspective, I think that helps. It's not about you anymore.
So I have to tell you something, Jackie. I just got a text from someone that says, I loved getting to know her. Now I want to eat and have wine with her.
Great.
Oh my God. So Jackie, I love you even more. And I think you have probably 50 new fans. So thank you for giving us your insight and your heart today, because it was really pretty amazing. And I think our takeaway, or mine, is the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable is, I mean, here you are in a place of power and you're literally willing to be vulnerable to all of us is pretty telling. And I think anybody that's here that's kind of going through your own challenges in your job, look to Jackie. I mean, she's done phenomenal growth within herself, and we all get to benefit from it. So thank you for being our guest speaker today, Jackie.
Thank you all for being here. Wow.
Fabulous. Okay, everybody, make sure you join me. Go ahead and let everybody log off. Oh, they're all saying thank you. They love you.
Great to see you, Heather. Take it easy.
It's so good. Oh my God.